Hi everyone, welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. I'm really happy to have you here with me today. There's Oakley. I've been asked quite a bit lately where my dogs are. And in the summertime, my dogs hide away from the heat and they do most of their work at night. That's when they kind of patrol the farm, and then they sleep all day and avoid the sun. But also I spend a lot of the time in the summer in the garden, and my garden is all fenced off and the dogs aren't allowed in there. So that's the biggest reason why you don't see them. In the winter, we tend to see them a little bit more because they much prefer the cold. My dogs are Great Pyrenees and they're bred for the cold weather. So we'll see them more in the winter time. So we're heading down to the garden to do the last big harvest on the high tunnel for the year. Today marks the final wander through the garden where things are going to be looking beautiful and colorful. Feeling a little sad about it, I'll be honest. We still have a few weeks left of work in the garden to get it all ready for winter, to get it all cleaned out. We have to plant the garlic in a couple weeks. But as of tomorrow, my garden is not going to be looking like this anymore. Like I said, it's going to get down to freezing tonight. For the next 3 nights, it's going to be below freezing. Before we head down to the high tunnel, Dan and I, to get everything all picked down there, which I'm excited. I'm excited to see how much we get. We've already picked probably 300 pounds worth of food out of that high tunnel this year, which is just fantastic. But before that, though, let's wander through the garden and just enjoy the last fleeting moments of it before the freeze comes and kills it all. Aren't these gorgeous? So this is a hybrid of a teddy bear sunflower and some other kind of sunflower. All the sunflowers in my garden grow, all the ones that self-seed, grow these multiple heads like this. You can see everywhere. And look at this one. Isn't that beautiful? So this sunflower actually has a couple of different kinds of blooms on it, which I've never seen before. So we have this one with the yellow on the tips. Isn't that stunning? And then we have these beautiful dark red ones. There's one of my honeybees there working away. Collect as much as you can, ladies. This is probably going to be the last day. And we have this beauty over here. Look at her. Isn't she gorgeous? You can see all the blackbirds on the sunflowers. The Shasta daisies have seen better days, but there's still a little bit of color left in them. This probably makes me the saddest is the fact that these absolutely gorgeous coral zinnia will be dead. They don't like frost at all. So what I'm probably going to do is just come and cut some of these so that I can at least enjoy them for a few more days inside. We have our dill over here. I could actually harvest a bit more of this. We'll see if I have time. Beautiful cosmos. So pretty. Look at how tall these zinnia are over here. This one is almost as tall as I am, and they're so beautiful. So these ones are a giant blend of zinnia, just rainbow color. I can't remember what they're called. It might be giant rainbow, but I get these ones from West Coast Seeds. Gorgeous, hey? Oh my gosh. Look at that. Oh, how beautiful. Bumblebees in there. Sunflowers this year were just absolutely magnificent. Look at that. Okay, what we have left in the garden yet to pick is a few more potatoes down in this lower potato patch. Most of them have been picked already. We have the big potato patch up there that we need to get picked, but those can stay in the ground. The vines are going to get killed off by the frost, but the potatoes underneath the ground will be fine. So we'll probably do that early next week. I have all the carrots yet to harvest. I did want to get them out before it froze, because a lot of my carrots are so huge and the shoulders are sticking out of the ground, and they tend not to store as well if they freeze. But hopefully there's so much foliage on here that they'll be protected from that, because the ground's not going to freeze yet. It's still a little bit away from that. I don't think we're going to have time today though, because we have so much to pull out of the high tunnel. And not only do I have to pull all that out of the high tunnel, but I have to do something with it once it's been pulled. So we'll just leave the carrots and get to those as soon as we can. What else do I have in here that we need to get? I do have some herbs in the herb bed here that need to be picked. Lots and lots of them. So we'll need to get to that. Oh, hey, Boba. The cats just love my garden. Oh, I do have a couple more things over here. I am going to have to pick these today because these beans will be killed off by the frost. But aren't those beautiful? And these are so delicious. So I'll need to get those picked. And then I have kale in here that can handle some frost, so I'm not going to worry about that till I absolutely have to get it. Oh man, look at how beautiful the nasturtiums look. Oh, these are super frost sensitive, so this is definitely going to be the last time that we see these. Oh, it's really hard to believe that the garden is going to be dead tomorrow, isn't it? It looks so full of life. Oh, I am going to miss it, but I am going to have a ton of fun planning my garden for next year. Basically, I have a few more weeks of a lot of preservation work that I need to do, and then I get to start planning my 2025 garden. You ready? Okay, Dan's on his way down now. So I wanted to show you what happened to my high tunnel last night. Oh dear. Do you notice anything missing here in the high tunnel? So yes, the wind came along and pulled this off. The plastic's still there, it's just folded over that side of it. So Dan and I were talking before we came down of possibly just taking all of the plastic off and leaving the high tunnel exposed. There are some benefits to doing that. With the high tunnel staying covered all winter, the ground completely dries up. So any kind of good microbes that are in that soil, worms or anything like that, end up getting killed off over the winter. Keeping it exposed to the elements and the snow and all of that, because it keeps the moisture in the ground. So there's kind of a benefit of doing that. And also the plastic kind of got so tore up over the last couple of years that it could use to be replaced anyway. So I could reuse this plastic to build the little covers that are the little mini greenhouses that I want to build up in the main garden for the heat-loving plants, like the melons and the pickling cucumbers and things like that. So I could reuse it. So we'll just have to decide kind of by the end of the day what we want to do. The other thing that I want to do is take down all my bunting flags so that they're not left out exposed to the elements. Even if we were to keep the plastic on, just the sun damage, I want to keep them looking beautiful like that. So we're going to take those down too. But the first thing that we need to do is get in here and get all of this plant matter removed from here. So we're going to pick the peppers and the tomatoes, and then we're actually going to pull all the plants out too. So you ready, hun? Okay, friends, so the plan is we're going to go through, pick off all of the fruit. We're going to start with the peppers, and then all of the plants are just going to go out into a big pile in behind the high tunnel, and then we'll move on to the tomatoes. Does anyone have any guesses on the amount of pounds of produce that we're going to pull out of here today? What do you think, hun? There is a lot of food in here. Okay, so Dan's guess is 500. I think 300. So we'll let you know when we get to the end of the day. These ones here are King of the North, and this one is actually turning yellow. It's not going to have a chance to fully ripen, but that's all right. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Aren't these beautiful, hun?
These peppers?
Yeah.
Crazy.
And they smell so good.
There's so many of them.
I know. My best pepper year ever, I think. Actually, the first year that we grew peppers in here was pretty good too. But yeah, this is definitely gonna be good. So what I'm gonna do with these peppers is, because I don't have any freezer space right now, our freezers are chock full of meat right now, is I'm going to chop these up and freeze dry them. Look at this pepper. So I just wanted to show you something. Can you see how there's kind of little, almost like stretch marks on the pepper? That's exactly what they are. So I gave these a really good soak probably a week ago or so. So the plant expanded faster than the skin could keep up, and that's what caused those little kind of stretch marks on there. They don't affect the flavor of them at all. A little tiny bit the texture, but not really. This was maybe my 5th year. Was this the 5th year or 4th year? I lose track of time.
At least the 5th year. I'd say it's more maybe.
Really? Yeah, so the 5th year probably of growing in here. And one of the things that I learned this year, or one of the things that I did that made a big difference with the peppers, is I kept them covered with a thick frost blanket at night, every night until the nighttime temperatures were above 10 degrees Celsius. And that seems to make a big difference, because this pepper harvest is so much better than last year's was. You're beating me here.
What are you going to do with all these peppers?
I am going to freeze dry them. We actually use a lot of peppers, like probably twice a week we use peppers.
I've got a full box.
In recipes, yeah, I've got a full box here too. Look at that, friends. Oh my gosh. On our videos,
What's going on?
Did I miss something? He's really appreciating the fact that we don't have snakes here, because we get comments about how I just reach in and don't look or anything first, and that's because we don't have snakes here besides little garter snakes, and that and bugs, that we don't have a lot of bugs in our area. So even though it's a short season, it is we can grow a lot in it because we don't have the bugs.
I said, look at these. They're just ridiculous.
You know what's funny is I stop myself from really pulling back branches and looking, because I love harvesting so much and having it be kind of a surprise. Somebody was saying in the comments about how they don't know how I restrain myself from looking at the squash, but it's just because I know how much joy I'm going to experience when I go look and get to see them when I get to harvest. That's what this feels like. I can't believe it. Like, I just...
Yeah, this is kind of crazy.
It is crazy. We definitely didn't get a lot of ripening, like where they've actually, where they've turned red.
Oh, I thought they were green peppers.
Green peppers are red peppers, and they're the same thing. It's just they're
Well,
ripe.
I was right
and
then. And here you are educating me. Really hide in there pretty good.
Oh. The jalapenos weren't super prolific, but I think I planted enough plants to get what we need for the cowboy candy.
There's more green peppers. Oh, there's green peppers.
There's more green peppers?
Here.
Oh.
Just
Didn't
gonna
do the
switch
best
that
job
box
of-
out for hot peppers.
This is all my habanero peppers did, so they didn't ripen. Are you willing to try and see if these are hot? Just a little piece off the end?
There it goes.
Okay. I don't like hot stuff.
One of these?
Yeah.
Just through the bush.
Yeah, I just took the whole bush out.
I'm kind of scared though. Which one?
Doesn't matter. Just take a little bite off just the end. Just a little. Whoa, that's that's a big bite. Obviously not a lot of heat.
No, there is heat in it for sure.
Is there?
Oh yeah, it's warm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's quite warm.
It's getting super warm now. So really super hot?
Very hot.
Okay. And we'll make some.
Spiciest thing I've eaten in a long time.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. Cleared your sinuses out.
My tongue is on fire.
Is it?
Because,
Whew.
I need to go get some water.
You took a bigger bite than I was. I was like a little nibble off the end. So that one was a habanero that Dan just tried. And these are Tabasco peppers, which he's not going to try.
Oh.
Are you in pain?
Yeah, that's just watering so much.
Oh, that's really funny. I think I'm gonna just bring this one inside because there's so many on there. These are Tabasco. Oh, I know they are cute. Hey, they look cute, but they are hot.
That's the hottest thing I've eaten in such a long time.
Really?
And I eat spicy food quite a bit.
Well, that'll make a really hot sauce then.
Oh yeah.
I'll make sure that I dilute it with some other like sweeter peppers and some onions and tomatoes.
Like really hot.
Okay, let's show you what we have here. I'm so happy about this. That is a lot of peppers. Oh my goodness. Okay, so our plan here is we're going to put all the ripe tomatoes that need to be processed right away, and I don't think there's that many because I have been staying on top of those, in one box, and then anything that has a blush on it in another box, and anything that's straight up green will go in the last one. I have a feeling there is a lot of tomatoes.
Hundreds of pounds.
Hundreds of pounds. You know, I may not have to can tomatoes next year. By the time I'm done canning all these, I may have enough for 2 years. Wouldn't that be amazing?
I didn't think you were going to have a good tomato year.
I know. Nope, those are tomatoes. They are called San Maranzo. I'm just going to go through and pick all the blushes first and then go back through and pick all the green ones. I've been asked a few times why I grow so many different varieties of tomatoes, especially if I'm just going to be turning them into sauce. There's a couple of reasons, but the number one reason is because if you look at this, how beautiful is that? All those colors and shapes and the variation in the color. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. So that's the first reason. And the second is because I personally think that sauces that are made with a variety of tomatoes taste better. Just they're a little bit more complex in flavor. So that's the reason I do it, but mostly because they're beautiful. So this is where we're at. I have most of the peppers all torn out here, and I'm glad I did that because there was lots of peppers hiding in underneath that Dan and I missed. And this side I've torn out over here, but we still have all these to tear out. All the tomatoes are off though, and that's the big concern, is that I don't want those to freeze tonight. So I'm gonna finish cleaning this all out tomorrow, get the bunting flags off, probably take the plastic off. We're kind of leaning towards that at this point. So we will head up to the house and I'll show you what we got. It's very exciting. Okay, we have all of this, and we will weigh this so that we can tell you how much it actually was. And then 4 more good sized boxes in the truck. So I can safely say we're definitely over 300 pounds of food, but I'll let you know once we get it all weighed. Okay friends, so 2 days ago is when we picked all of the produce out of the high tunnel. We've actually done a lot of the cleaning in there as well since then. And we weighed all of that produce that we picked out of there, and there was over 600 pounds of tomatoes and peppers, if you can believe it. I cannot believe it. My mind was blown. I had guessed 300, Dan had guessed 500, so he was certainly closer than I was, but we even went over his estimate, which I thought was high. Which means that we have picked over 1,000 pounds of produce, because I've already picked at least 300 pounds of produce out of the high tunnel over the summer. So that high tunnel is 21 by 60, so over 1,000 pounds of food out of there. I am so pleased with that. What that means is that we are definitely going to be well over 2,000 pounds, probably substantially over that. I'm not even sure yet, but we have been keeping track throughout the summer of the amount of pounds of produce that we've been picking out of our garden. But because we still have our potatoes and our carrots, and we have fairly large crops of both of those to pick out of there, and those are heavy vegetables, yeah, I suspect we're going to have thousands and thousands of pounds that we have picked out of our garden this year, and I'm so happy about that. So what I've been doing today is battling a little bit of a head cold. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice, but there are things that just have to be taken care of with all of this produce. So everything is sitting over on my kitchen table right now. So what I do is I keep them in the bins like this, and I go through the bins at least once a day, if not twice a day, and start taking out all the ripe tomatoes, and those go right into my roaster ovens. So just below you here, I have both of my roaster ovens filled with tomatoes, and I'm going to cook those down and turn them into, most likely, primarily just a simple tomato sauce, just because I have so much that I need to deal with out of the garden right now. I don't want to get too fancy. So these will be running basically nonstop until all these tomatoes are processed. We are not huge fans of green tomato recipes. I've tried all different kinds of them over the years. So I am just going to actually let pretty much all of these ripen and then cook them up as they ripen. All of the green peppers, what I've been doing with those, and I started doing this right on Friday, is filling up trays to put into my freeze dryer. So my freeze dryer is filled right now with peppers. We have so many peppers. It's such a, it's just, with the price of peppers right now, especially because these are organic peppers, it's just, I feel quite blessed to have this many peppers sitting in my kitchen. So I am processing those that way, and so I'm processing them via freeze drying. I probably will put some in the freezers, although I have very little room right now. The nice thing about peppers is you can just chop them and throw them right in the freezer. You don't have to blanch them. So it is very quick to do. I do want to get them put through as fast as possible because they're nice and fresh and crisp right now. I'm also giving a ton of peppers away to my kids and friends and parents and in-laws and all of that. So I will have no problem going through all of these peppers that we have here. So one of the things that I have been doing this morning, I actually have to add some more sugar to it over here, is making a gigantic batch of cowboy candy. So I took all of my jalapenos, except for the few that I have left over here, and ran them through my food processor on the dicing, with the dicing blade, and dice them up. I like my jalapenos diced for my cowboy candy rather than cut into rings because I like the smaller pieces. So I'm gonna have to jar that up and get that into jars pretty much right away. But first we need to add a little bit more sugar because it wasn't quite sweet enough. Cowboy candy is super simple to make, and the majority of the recipes you're gonna find online are all pretty much the same. So in mine I have vinegar, sugar, celery seed, garlic powder, and a little bit of turmeric. Did I say the vinegar? My brain is a little bit foggy. So, and mix that all up, and then we're gonna can it and process it for 15 minutes in the steam canner. Beside that, over on the stove, I have some elderberries simmering. So 1 cup of elderberries, dried elderberries, to 3 cups of water. I'm just simmering that with a cinnamon stick for a little while, and then I'm going to let it cool down and add 1 cup of our honey to it. I want to wait until it has cooled down though, because I don't want to kill all of the good stuff that's in our raw honey here. And then I'm just gonna put that in a jar and put it in the fridge, and we'll use that over cold and flu season. I have some bread in the oven over there, you can probably see, and I can tell just by looking at it that I overproofed it because it's not nice and round on the top. It's looking a little flat, but I'm experimenting with a cinnamon raisin bread recipe, so I'm not going to share the recipe because I overproofed it, but once I get it refined, I'll share it with you. So there are some of the peppers that I want to get dealt with right away, just because they'll start to shrivel up if they sit out in the open outside of refrigeration for too long. And the Tabasco peppers here are one of those things. So I'm going to ferment these Tabasco peppers to make a fermented Tabasco sauce. We have our habaneros here, as you can see. We're going to also ferment those. And then I have these peppers here that are called Santa Cruz peppers, and they are quite hot as well. So I'm going to ferment these in a separate thing. So this will be 3 different kinds of hot sauces that I'm going to make. I'm going to be fermenting these for probably 3 to 7 days, depending on how they taste. And then I'll be making the sauce in an upcoming video. I have my brine here. This is just 1 quart of warm water to 2 tablespoons of non-iodized salt. You want to make sure your water is non-chlorinated and that your salt is not iodized. I'm just going to put these, I'm hoping I can fit all of them in here. I feel like this is going to be a bit of a tight squeeze. I might need to grab myself a larger jar. Oh, it's so close. I think we can fit them all in there. We'll squeeze them in. Top this off with our brine here. And then we are going to put a puck to hold everything down. Ooh, that's gonna be a tight squeeze. You know what? I'll just take a pinch out of here, because we do want to make sure that our liquid comes all the way up to the top. One of our pickle pipes. Then we're gonna set this on the counter, back out of the way to ferment. We're gonna do the same thing with our habaneros here. So I'm gonna slice these in half, and I don't usually use gloves when I'm chopping hot peppers, but when I was doing my jalapenos earlier, I was chopping so many of them and my thumbs, the tips of my thumbs were starting to burn a little bit. So I pulled out some gloves, and I most definitely, when I cut these in half, these are so hot. Oh my goodness, I've never grown habaneros before. They are smoking hot. So I don't want to burn my fingers. The thing about once you start getting, or if you get enough of the oil on your fingers, even if you wash it, I just feel like it just continues to burn afterwards. So it's not a bad idea, especially if you're food processing peppers like this, to wear eye protection too. When I was doing it, it was kind of spraying up a little bit when I was doing the jalapenos. So not a bad idea if you don't want to get any splashes in your eyes. If you don't have a pickle pipe, you could use a just a regular lid. Just make sure that you burp it. Just open it up a little bit a couple times a day to just let the gases out. With these pipes, you can basically just leave them. I am not a fan of wearing gloves when I'm doing any kind of work, because I just feel like I just can't feel what I'm doing as well. And if I'm going to cut myself, it's usually going to be when I'm wearing gloves. Even for like meat cutting, butchering, all that kind of stuff, I don't wear gloves. I just feel like it is, at least for me, it's safer to have my bare hands and then just of course wash really well. All right, our bread is looking done, so I'm gonna pull that out. It still looks yummy, but this is an overproofed bread. You can see how it's kind of sunken in a little bit, kind of collapsed a bit on itself. So overproofing means that I left it to rise for too long. But oh my goodness, it smells really good. So I'm sure it's gonna taste just fine, regardless of the fact it'll be a little dense. That's okay. It's a good idea if you have a place that's out of direct sunlight, because you don't want to go stick this in your window. To put it, I just put it on the back of my counter here. It gets a little bit of light, but nothing direct, and it works just fine. Otherwise, I find if I put it somewhere else, I will forget about it. So this way I remember to keep my eye on it. I wanted to show you these gorgeous tomatoes because I didn't talk about these that much this year, but they are one of my favorite tomatoes, and that is the old German tomato. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Let me cut into it and show you. Not with the same knife I just cut the peppers with though. Oh, look at that. Isn't that just gorgeous? And the flavor of these tomatoes is kind of the perfect mix of kind of sweet and acidic, which is how I do like my tomatoes. The flavor of these tomatoes is a mix between kind of sweet and acidic. Look at that. Oh, perfect. I'm just gonna leave that there to snack on because that's incredible. They turn a little bit more orange like this as they start to ripen. I'm gonna be eating some tomato sandwiches. Okay, so I'm just gonna strain our elderberries here so that they can just drain out all that good stuff. We'll let that drip. And then I'll add my honey to it once this is, actually it's cooled down quite a bit already because I took it off the heat a long time ago. So we might be able to add our honey to that once we're finished jarring up all the cowboy candy you can see back over there. Okay, those are all jarred up. I have the first batch in the canner. I did decide to jar up the other ones because they're gonna retain enough heat to be able to go in the canner because this has a short processing time, 15 minutes. And now that this has drained out, we are going to add our honey to it. Look at how beautiful that honey is. Okay, and we're gonna put a bit of honey in here. You know, it calls for a cup, this particular recipe, but I feel like that's gonna be way too sweet. So let's just stir this in. You do need this to be warm enough so that it can dissolve the honey. Like the flavor of elderberry. Oh my goodness. Definitely some more honey. Ugh. All right. Okay, that should do it. Mmm. Yum. So now this is just going to go in the fridge. Friends, I was going to take you down to the high tunnel to show you it all cleared out. It's not entirely finished yet, so I'm going to wait and do that with you in the next video, mostly just because I don't want to walk down to the high tunnel right now, but I do want to try out this bread and see how it tastes. So it is a honey, whole wheat, cinnamon raisin bread. It looks good. Smells absolutely delicious. My preferred way of eating raisin bread is toasted, but this is nice and warm, so we'll just put some butter on it and try it as is. Let's give it a try. Wow. That is really good. Absolutely delicious. I think what I might do next time is roll it out and put a little bit of cinnamon on it and then roll it so that there's a little cinnamon swirl in it. I just put the cinnamon right into the bread mix, but the texture of this is so good and it's chewy. Really good. I sent out my bread recipe in my newsletter, I think 2 weeks ago, something like that. So all I did with the bread recipe was I added cinnamon. I added, instead of a 1/4 cup of honey, I added 1/2 cup of honey. I normally have a 1/4 cup in that recipe. And then the raisins in it, and that's all I did differently, and it is really, really good. So definitely going to be making that again for sure, just maybe not leaving it to rise for quite as long. All right, friends, that is going to be it for me today. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, everyone.